Welcome, I suppose.
To another episode, and
very unplanned one at
very. We're being forced to do this video.
We got a special, interesting person.
A special viewer who
thinks we are extra special.
That's one way of putting it. They've been emailing and messaging, and
even though we never, I don't think in an episode we've ever released our location.
No, we used to, but
well, yeah, but I
mean,
think
they know that we're now filming in my house, but I didn't know that they knew where this location was. We're really scared, guys, because
kind of
they showed up here and demanded that we film this episode, or some bad things were gonna happen.
They didn't speak of the bad things. It just
we are scared though, guys. Really scared. Well, early April Fools. Anyway, this is episode 0, actually, that we're going to be calling this episode, because it is unplanned. But we hope that people got the gist from the early opening of what this episode is going to be about. This is the creepypasta episode.
Creepypastas. Now, one thing we might want to do.
We might want to tell those who don't know what a creepypasta is.
No. We might want to back up so they can see our faces.
I see me.
I don't see me.
I see you. You're right there.
Yeah, I'm a black blob.
Well, that works out, because creepypastas are supposed to be dark and scary, so...
Whatever. Well, you guys know what we look like anyway.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
So, again...
You know about his gay mohawk.
Fuck you, you're the law. Anyway, we welcome you. This is going to be a little bit different, because for those of you who don't know what creepypastas are, they are essentially...
internet horror stories.
Ghost stories, yeah. Almost like around the campfire.
Well, not necessarily ghost stories, but just internet
they
horror
remind me of like when I was out camping with my dad and telling ghost stories around the campfire. Like, I really remember that same kind of feeling when reading these, or listening to them on podcasts or YouTube or whatever.
Right. So this is...
You're obviously a huge fan of creepypasta.
Right. I want to share this. How did you come into creepypasta?
How did I come into creepypasta?
Because we're going to talk about this, and I think it's kind of funny, but you know what? It is
cool
funny.
It is funny. I came into it actually with no knowledge of it. I had never heard of the genre. I didn't know anything about it. And a friend of mine knew that I was a big horror fan, and he sent me a video via an email. And he says, "You gotta watch this." And I asked him what it was, and he said that the video was called Cupcakes. Which most people who know what creepypasta is, it's one of the more infamous ones, obviously. And it's probably the most infamous fanfic of all time because of the gore and everything to it. It's based off of the My Little Pony Friendship is Magic television series, with the character Pinkie Pie being a serial killer. And not just a serial killer, but a cannibal serial killer.
Yeah, like, she makes cupcakes.
She gets Rainbow Dash to come and help her make cupcakes. Of course, Dash has no idea what's going to happen. Now, the cool thing with this is it actually not only got me into creepypasta, because I'm a huge fan of creepypasta, but it also made me a brony, because I've now watched every episode and put a cupcake twist on them. I've put my own horror twist to them. And I love it. Absolutely love it. That's how I got into creepypasta. How about you?
A creepypasta turned you brony.
It did.
Alright.
I'm one of those fucked up kind of guys. So anyway, what about you?
We were, it was after work, and me and my buddy Luke went over to my friend, one of our friend's house, and we were chilling, and she's like, "Guys, you gotta listen to this video." And I'm like, okay. She's like, it's fine. It's just a horror story. I'm like, oh, all right, whatever. And we're listening to it. It was Smile.jpg, another infamous creepypasta.
One of the most infamous. Yeah.
And I was like, I'm so freaked out, and then I'm like, let's watch some more. So the second one we watched was the strangest security camera I've ever seen.
So Smile Dog was what you got you into creepypasta.
And then ever since I've been going like creepypasta. Awesome news.
Now, have you ever written your own creepypasta?
I'm working on it.
So am I. I'm actually working on one as well. Mine's actually ending up a lot longer than I expected it to be. I expected maybe 7 to 10 pages, and I'm on page 15, so it's gonna be probably about a half-hour long story.
I haven't even started writing mine. I just got a main idea.
Well, mine, actually, this is gonna sound really fucking creepy. I was watching a bunch of creepypasta videos on YouTube, and I was trying to sleep one night before going to work, and I kept closing my eyes, and I actually kept visioning the character who's my main antagonist. And I actually was so freaked out by the image of the character that I stayed awake until 9:45 that night staring at my ceiling because I was actually afraid to go to sleep.
I've had those moments.
Like, I was really creeped out by this character that came into my head. He's kind of a Slender Man-esque looking character, except rather than the black suit, he wears all white. And he wears a black tie with a little skull clip. And his face is all like dehydrated and sunken in to look more like a skull just with skin over it. And,
pretty sweet.
He's called the Skull Man.
Be looking forward to that.
Yeah, I hopefully I'm letting people know I've created the Skull Man, so I do want people to read it, and I hope they'll enjoy it. Hopefully I'll have it done soon. I hope.
Stories take a while.
They do take a while.
They can.
They do take a while. All right, so this is going to be a different episode because
we're not reviewing
certain movies.
Right, there's no movies. We're not taking certain creepypastas and just reviewing it. We got lists, and each creepypasta is going to get their own review, I guess you could say, their own output.
Yeah. So if you have not read creepypastas and don't know about them, we are giving spoilers away in this said episode. So if you are a creepypasta fan, you've probably read or seen or whatever most of the little videos and stories, podcasts, and so on. So we've got a total of 4 lists because of this. So we wanted to at least stay with the number 4. We have our top lost episodes creepypasta, which is cartoons and things of that nature. We have the top video game list, which are just really scary stories based around video games, whether it's actually in the video game universe or somebody playing the game.
Right.
We had to have this, the worst creepypastas.
The stuff we've come off.
We want to warn you guys about some of these because some of them are really bad. And then we have, this one actually will be the biggest list, and this is our all-time favorite creepypastas. You'll probably hear some that are similar from us, but probably in different orders. So
instead of just 5, there's 10 for the all-time favorites.
We're going to do 10 rather than 5.
So that means we get 20 awesome.
Hopefully. I mean, we are probably going to have some.
Okay, so 15, maybe.
But we're going to say around 15. All right, so...
and I'm more high-tech than Ed is.
Do you want me to start with one of the lists, or do you want to start?
You start.
All right. We'll start with the Lost episode. Okay, sound good? All right, so Lost episodes. At my number 5, I have Happy Appy. Happy Appy was a Nick Jr. show in the mid to late 90s, if I recall correctly.
I don't remember it. I know that.
I do remember coming across the show a couple of times being younger. Of course, I was in middle school at the time, so I really didn't pay too much attention. I remember him being this claymation apple, and he was on like a rusty spoon or stick or something.
Something weird like that.
And he started off okay and kind of cutesy and whatever, but then I do remember him actually kind of changing a little bit. Like, he seemed more menacing.
It was just a creepy show, I suppose. I mean, I didn't watch Nick Jr. at that time. I've always been Cartoon Network boy, but just.
In this particular creepypasta, he gets a death stare and this maniacally crazy smile. And they start showing clips of just these horrible events that start happening. And the final episode, or the Lost episode, because they never technically said that they aired it, there was this horrifying car crash and these mangled bodies and explosions. It was a really, really jarring episode from what I hear. But the reason this one comes in at number 5 for me and not higher is... It actually could have happened because Nickelodeon denies ever having this show even on. So that's what makes this one kind of strange. But I wasn't really scared with this one, so that's why I didn't put it at a higher level. At number 4, Dead Bart. Dead Bart is a supposed Lost Simpsons episode where the Simpsons go on vacation.
Yeah, on the plane, and Bart, as usual, is just fucking around.
Yeah, obviously the little jackass didn't learn his lesson ever. Somehow he manages to break a window on the plane.
He falls, I guess.
Yeah, he falls back, which I don't know how that broke the window. I'm still trying to figure that out.
Because that's all pressurized. So.
It is. But he gets sucked out of the plane, and somehow the Simpsons get off the plane. And they're all
into
around,
his body.
And they're all around his mangled and deformed body at this point. And obviously with that fall, he died. The next, they cut to black, and then it goes to the next scene. The next scene shows him, or shows the family around the table crying. Afterwards, they're at the cemetery, and there's just a ton of headstones, like more than there's ever been in any of the Graveyard episodes. And then if you start looking at the tombstones, they're all of different celebrities.
Right, that have shown up on the show. But
and the ones that really stand out is the Michael Jackson one, which
that hasn't shown up.
He hadn't even shown up yet. And it was his actual death date.
Right.
As well as, right next to him, you actually had all four Ramones. Marky, Dee Dee, CJ, and so on.
Right.
And three of them have passed away and also had the same death date. So it was really, really creepy. And that bothered me a lot. Again, it wasn't super scary. It was more of a creep factor. Alright, at number 3, Ed, Edd n Eddy, the Lost episode. This episode was just so fucked up. And for a creepypasta, this one actually really did unnerve me because I was a huge fan of Ed, Edd n Eddy growing up.
My dad hated how much I loved this show.
But you see Eddie and Ed, and they're walking down the street without Double D, or the other Ed, as some people know him. Eddie looks just pissed. His eyes are bloodshot. But Ed looks like he's crying, like something horrible has happened. The background is really dark. Like, you can barely make things out. And the quality was really, really shitty. It was like an old VHS tape that had been watched too many times.
Also, I mean, compared to the standards.
But again, then Kevin shows up, and Eddie and him start fighting, and it looks like Kevin is about to hit Eddie, but it blacks out and it goes to a scene with Double D sleeping on Eddie's bed, but it's in claymation rather than the traditional anime.
Which is just creepier anyway.
And this lasts not long, maybe a minute or two. Then they flash to a scene with Jimmy and Sarah being at what appears to be a dentist, with Jimmy's headgear all twisted upward and his teeth are all messed up. But then it pans back as he's screaming to Sarah, "It hurts, Sarah, it hurts." And Sarah's actually trying to comfort him, which we've never seen in an episode before. And when they pan back, we notice that he's missing his arms and legs. So my theory on this is that the other kids beat him up and did this to him.
Kanker sisters.
They never show up in the episode. They're not even talked about.
Which is fine.
It cuts to commercial, and then it comes back to Rolf with a beard and really hairy, almost like this Bigfoot kind of thing, and he's fisting a cow. And
That's just creepy. And
it's on this continuous loop for like 2 or 3 minutes. After that, we see Naz sitting on her couch reading a magazine, which really is pretty normal. I didn't expect anything weird from that. But then Johnny climbs out from under Naz's couch, and he looks like he's got no eyes, and there's no plank, which is
surprising because
But yeah, he climbs up behind her and he starts swallowing her head. She's kicking and fighting until she finally goes limp. Then it cuts to the final scene with Double D laying on Eddie's floor, and he appears to be dead.
Yeah, he's just laying there. And that goes on for what, the last 4 minutes?
4 or 5 minutes, yeah. This episode was just really creepy. It really, really unnerved me, and that's why I got number 3. The next 2 really bothered me a lot. Number 2 is Dead Fred from Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Which is also another favorite TV show of ours.
It was a big one for me. Most people remember the episode Freaky Fred, where Muriel's nephew shows up and he's the insane barber and he shaves Courage. All he wants to do is shave and cut people, cut their hair. But in this one, there's no sound, and Fred is almost very similar to the way he was, but Courage starts having these flashbacks of all the horrible things he's gone through. And, well, he ends up going and getting a shotgun. And when Fred shows up, he looks down at Courage, and Courage has got the gun pointed at him, and he blows a hole in Fred's chest. Fred dies.
Of course.
Now, this was already shocking. Like, I didn't expect this at all.
Deaths don't happen in cartoons.
Not usually. And Muriel starts sobbing, and her and Eustace are dragging the body to Eustace's truck. Courage locks himself up in the bathroom, and he starts hearing this very ominous voice saying, "Hello, new friend, my name is Fred." And it starts going on about the "you've been naughty" thing. Well, the thing is, there's no other sound other than that. And it starts showing flashbacks again, and Courage is remembering all the things that he's done to help these people, and he actually takes the shotgun and he kills Eustace as well.
But when Eustace dies, doesn't he fall as Fred?
He falls onto Fred, yeah.
Oh, it falls onto Fred. Oh, okay.
This episode really, really bothered me. This creepypasta just scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, it was freaky.
Alright, and my number one, I'm not a huge fan of the show. I've seen a few episodes growing up, and it's based off of the SpongeBob SquarePants show, and my number one is Squidward's suicide.
And if you haven't heard of this yet, please go find it. Mr. Creepypasta does a thing about it on YouTube.
Yes.
It's written on creepypasta.com. It's there.
Squidward has a concert one night, and he's trying to practice, and he keeps getting interrupted. Finally, he gets to the concert. We don't actually see him perform the concert. It goes to the end of the concert. He plays the last few notes, and there's an utter silence. It's a really eerie silence. And then they pan out to the audience, and every audience member has hyper realistic eyes.
All bloody and...
all bloodshot, and they all start booing, but not typical cartoon booing. I mean, this is like angry, like really
like,
bad. Squidward actually starts to look like he's afraid. We get a quick cut scene, and we see him back at his house, sitting on the edge of his bed, and he's just sobbing hysterically. And there's a cut sequence where it goes to a mutilated 6-year-old boy.
For only a quick second.
Yeah, split second.
It's like one frame.
The cartoon continues, and Squidward is now crying to the point where his eyes are bleeding. And I just want to get to the real strange part. You get to this point where they show Squidward crying to the point, like I said, where he's bleeding, and it pans down to his lap, and there's a shotgun, and he ends up killing himself. You hear this ominous voice just say, "Do it."
Yeah.
And again, the hyper-realistic comes into blood and brain matter, and he falls over onto his bed, and as he's been mutilated due to the shotgun, much like the boy, he's got one of his eyeballs popped out and just dangling.
Ugh.
So that's my list of the top Lost episodes. Hopefully we haven't scared anyone too much. Alright, Jay, what do you got for Lost episodes?
Alright, and I went all new tech versus your notebook.
Well, I like old school.
It's alright. Well,
Number
mine
five.
are...
And
Number 5's Happy Happy. I got actually all of yours. They're just rearranged.
no, you don't.
I don't?
No, your number one is different. I didn't have that in my
All right.
Lost episodes.
Okay.
So
Number 5 is Happy Happy.
which we talked about,
Number 4 is Dead Bart.
which we talked,
Number 3 is Ed, Ed and Eddie.
which we talked.
Number 2 is Squidward Suicide.
Okay, and my number one. Oh, so what's your number one?
Cupcakes.
The My Little Pony.
The My Little Pony.
You want to talk about that?
Not yet, because he's got it in one of his lists,
And you
and
want
he's
me-
more of a brony than I am.
Alright, so you want to leave it for me?
Yeah, I'll leave it for you.
Alright, well, it's your turn to start a list. What are we going with?
Alright, we're gonna go, because I love video games,
So we're
go
going to do a video
games.
game? Alright, go for it.
Alright, Hero Brian.
At number 5.
Number 5, the Minecraft phenomena.
Now, you actually liked this story.
I like this story. You didn't.
No, I don't like Minecraft. I think it's a stupid-ass game. I didn't listen to the story, and I was bored out of my mind with it. It's definitely not on one of my worst, but I don't think I'll ever listen to it again and read it again. Whatever.
Anyway, it's about this this character that people have seemingly seen while gaming online.
Do you want to describe said character?
Just a regular character, blue shirt, brown pants, brown hair,
but
no
white eyes.
No eyes.
Yeah, all white eyes.
Right, and he attacks you randomly. Just comes up and he kind of haunts you. He follows you around. He's like Slender Man of video gaming.
Pretty much. That's a good way of putting it.
And what it is supposedly that it was when he was discovered, people started complaining and saying, "Hey, there's this character keeps on killing me." Well, this one guy who says that it's he's the stepbrother of this kid who died, who basically just haunts video games.
Yeah.
And he played Minecraft all the time, so he haunts Minecraft as Herobrine, and he just goes around and kills people. And randomly, I'm like,
it's an alright story. I mean, if you guys are into Minecraft, go check it out.
It's not any higher than that because of that factor. Number 4. Now you've never heard of this one.
I don't think so.
And I kind of like it. It kind of goes along with the Dead Bart a little bit. It's Fallout 3 number stations. And what it is supposedly, well, number stations. I'll explain what number stations are, just in case you don't play Fallout. Number stations are radio stations.
Yeah.
That's what they are. They're just different hertz and whatever, and different tunes. Well, supposedly, if you do certain things and you go to a certain place in the game after doing these things, you can tune into a station that is not there, I guess. Anyway, what it is it's a bit of static and then Morse code.
Really?
Really. And when the Morse code is decrypted, it is events that have happened, and it predicts the BP oil spill.
Really?
Yeah, which was after the game was released.
That's fucking weird.
And one of the ones was the Queen dying, the Queen of England.
Really?
Yeah, and it's actually next year, supposedly, August 2014. And it says something along the lines of, "Today's a sad day. It's days unlike these that we are all Brits."
Wow.
And then it goes to another one where it says the guy can't stand the noise anymore. He's going crazy, and then it kind of gives a hint to an apocalypse, but doesn't get to a date.
Huh.
So it kind of leaves you wondering. But
that doesn't sound bad. I'd like to check that out at some point. I'll have to definitely look into that.
Definitely not so bad.
All right, number 3.
Lavender Town.
The Lavender Town syndrome.
Yes, where supposedly every kid playing the
in the Japanese release.
Yep. Dies when getting to Lavender Town.
For those of you who are too young to remember the original Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow, of course in Japan it was Red, Green, and Yellow.
Yep.
Because they had the Bulbasaur edition, which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Lavender Town was the first town where you met ghost Pokemon, Ghastly and Haunter, as well as Cubone. This is a really creepy town because, unlike the other towns in the game, it is darker, and the music is really eerie. Supposedly, with the Japanese release, there was something different about it. Like a lot of the kids said that there was feelings of depression and
just bad all around.
Yeah. And supposedly, this was a conspiracy cover-up story, but the kids who played it, most of them committed suicide. Whether this is true or not, we don't know.
If you are living, please tell us.
But yeah,
even though we can't understand Japanese,
we'll get it translated. All right, so number 2.
Ben.
This story.
You got this on yours, don't you?
I do have this on mine as well. Do you want to talk about it, or do you want to wait till I get to
We'll wait for you, and I'll do the next one.
And your number 1.
LSD Dream Emulator.
I do have that on my list.
Which is... It's basically It's an online game.
No, it's not online.
It's not? I thought
No,
it was
it's
online.
a obscure PlayStation 1 game.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And the guy's trying to find it. He found it online and was able to rip it. However, it wasn't working correctly.
So he had to go
So he
actually
forgot
find
about it, and it was released on the PlayStation Network Japan.
Yep.
So he found the card and downloaded it and everything. And we'll get more into that afterward because
He's got it on his
I've
list,
got
so
it on
we'll tell you half the story.
Alright, so
we'll do yours.
my number 5 is also Lavender Town Syndrome, which
Alright.
was your number 3.
Yeah.
We did talk about that. My number 4 is also another Pokemon story, and it's Bulbapod. Bulbapod was a really interesting story, and it kind of creeped me out a little bit because I always love like zombie flicks and things like that, so this was kind of an interesting kind of take on that. When you're playing Pokemon Red or Blue, you're walking around and you end up coming across this Bulbasaur that's mummified. However, rather than having the plant bulb like tradition, he's got a mummified Metapod up on his back.
Mm-hmm.
And he's only got one move, and it's called Mummify. Well, in this particular story, the trainer is using a Pikachu. Well, Pikachu gets mummified, and then the Bulbapod just disappears. You take the Pikachu to the nearest Pokemon Center, and it actually comes up in the text box that Pikachu has died. But another text box comes back later and says that Pikachu has been revived. So yeah, somehow Pikachu's come back to life. And Pikachu is now mummified as well, and then starts mummifying anything and everything around it. So now the trainer is just around all of these mummified Pokemon. And that's how the story ends with that. And it's really, really unnerving. My number 3 is Mr. Mix.
No, I've never heard of this one.
Yeah, this is kind of an obscure one,
it.
which is surprising. I really liked this story. It was very, very creepy. Mr. Mix was an old Nintendo game.
Okay.
And it was one of those word games where the first level you actually had to go in and you only had to make like 15 words. And each one got more and more difficult. Well, once you got up to level 5, you actually had only a minute to get 500 words.
Holy fuck.
Yeah, so it's practically impossible, right? Well, somebody found a way to do it and get through. Well, once you get to level 6, that's when things really start to go wrong.
Okay.
Mr. Mix, he becomes really dark and he's got this very ominous smile to him. Well, you start seeing these horrible flashing images of dead bodies and things of that nature, and one of the guys who actually managed to get through, he literally just disappeared for a couple of years. Nobody knew what happened to him or anything. Well, as I said, a few years pass, and he shows up at a grocery mart dressed like a chef. And he just starts killing people. Well, when they finally apprehend him, he only says one sentence. And I'm going to try to emulate the guy's voice in this. I am Mr. Mix. And that's all he says. And it's so deep and so creepy the way that
You kind of got me creeped out right now, just to let you know.
It's a very unnerving story.
Mr. Mix is coming to get us. Ah!
Number 2. You had, I think, your number 2 as well,
Yep.
which was Ben.
Ben, in which I'm going to let you...
Ben freaks me out because the game that it's based off of scares the shit out of me. And that's Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask.
Now, see, I've played Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. I've never beaten it because it was my friend's game, and, well, going to his house after school was kind of hard because he always was at an after-school program. But anyway, so... The game is kind of freaky. The moon freaked me out a lot.
Yeah, the moon is freaky. The elegy statues are freaky.
Some of the characters.
Skull Kid. Majora itself was creepy. But it's a college kid. He has just started his freshman year, moved into a new dorm, and his friend gives him his old Nintendo 64 to play. Well, the friend only gives him one game, one controller, which was Mario Smash Brothers, and you can only play that so much. So he starts going out on all these yard sales, and he's finding a bunch of games. He finds Pokemon Stadium and all these other things like that. Well, unfortunately, he's trying to find Majora's Mask. He finally finds it, but he finds this kind of sketchy copy of it.
Yeah,
There's no picture or anything. Somebody's just written Majora on it. Well, he asks the gentleman how much he wants for it, and the guy tells him that he can have it for free. Well, once he starts playing the game, things start out okay, but he notices that he's being followed by an elegy statue, and animations or places where they shouldn't be and things of that nature. Now, this is actually a really long creepypasta. It's a 5-piece creepypasta, and each one is about 15 minutes or so.
Oh, goodness.
So it's
a lot of time.
It's well over an hour. Ben really is a scary, scary story, and he fits into another story, which is the Creepybot story, where Creepybot doesn't talk about Ben. But Ben is the spirit of a kid like I said, of a kid who drowned and is now haunting the Majora's Mask game. And number one is the LSD Dream Emulator.
Which we both half of.
This really, really spooked me out. Jumping back. So the kid plays through the game, and the weird thing is you can't interact with anything. It just teleports you to a new location.
If you run into a tree, you're somewhere else.
Bookcase, you're somewhere else.
Right.
Well, he ends up going into this forest, and he gets transported, once touching a tree, to this dark alleyway with this graffiti painted everywhere of these different colored eyes. Well, the eyes aren't the only thing that's weird. Then this guy dressed in a gray hat and a trench coat, which we learn later, he actually refers to him as the Gray Man.
Yeah.
But we later find out that he's actually referred to as the Dream Man. Once that happens, you end up back in your house and you're walking around, and there's all these pictures of women being raped, cannibalism,
just
murder,
this horrible,
and they get worse as you walk along. Well, a link comes up for the video game's website. Unfortunately, it's all in Japanese, so the guy actually was smart enough to copy down everything.
Because he couldn't get to it again.
And he has his friend come in and translate it. His friend lived in Japan, speaks and reads the language fluently. After about 5 minutes, the friend is freaked out. He doesn't say anything to him for a while. Finally, he tells him what it says. After that, he says, whatever you saw in that video game, don't tell me anything. The friend then later returns to Japan, and it goes about a month or so, and the main character, the guy who wanted to play the game, gets a call that the friend has actually killed another man and then killed himself. Come to find out, the guy that he killed was the developer of the game.
Whoa.
So, very, very scary story.
No, wait. Do you remember what it said?
I don't, unfortunately.
I don't either.
And the funny thing is, I just listened to this.
It just takes me off because I was listening to it last night.
Alright, so next list. This is going to be a fun one.
Yay!
This is the top 5 worst creepypastas. At number 5, for me, it is The Thing That Stalks the Fields. It's about a farmer, and he's noticing that his bales of hay keep moving closer and closer to his house. And he's kind of...
Okay.
He thinks that's just some kid pulling a prank, right?
Yeah, that's what I think.
Well, after a while, he gets irritated and he moves the bales back. Well, by doing this, he wakes up the next morning to find all of his horses messily decapitated.
Oh.
Well, at this point, he's left the bales alone because they moved again.
Okay.
And he decides that he's going to sit there with a shotgun and a cup of coffee and hopefully find out who was doing it. Well, he watches as this lumbering creature comes out, and it looks kind of sickly, but it starts moving the bales around, and the guy finally realizes that this thing is creating a boundary and is literally keeping this guy here. If anybody tries to get in, he kills them. This story for me was just so monotonous. It dragged on far too long. Nothing really happened.
It sounds creepy when you shorten it like you did.
Yeah,
it could be a good creepy story if you just crunched it.
Yes.
You crunch it and word it right.
Unfortunately, this particular story, I heard it on Mr. Creepypasta, and it lasted like 18 minutes, and it was just so long and so boring for me. I was so bored.
You should rewrite it and just shorten it.
At number 4, Pokemon Creepy Black. I know I've done a lot of Pokemon reference.
There's a bunch of Pokemon shit. We went through like 3 or 4 of them.
At least 4.
Just to trick and try to get our list together.
Pokemon Creepy Black is about somebody who gets a hold of a copy of Pokemon Red. And while playing it, you get your base Pokemon, whatever one you choose. But you get a second Pokemon. Now, some of you might remember this from the original Red, Blue, and Yellow, once again in Lavender Town, when you first get there, you meet ghost Pokemon, but they're just called Ghost. Somehow you get a Ghost. I always actually wanted a Ghost in the game. I always thought they were cool. But things start going really strange. You actually notice that your trainer loses his legs and his arms, and he starts crying blood, and eventually all that's left of him is his head. Then it throws you into a random battle, and it throws you in against the same trainer that you are, Red or Ash or whatever you wish to call him. And by doing this, it actually has them use a Pikachu that's very depressed looking. And once you do this, you've realized that the only Pokemon that you have, and the Pokemon wasn't even created for Red version, which was Celebi.
Mm-hmm.
And once the battle's over, it ends actually in a draw. And Ash, Red, again, whatever you wish to call him, rips his own head off. Now, this story is so stupid because nothing scary really happens, at least not in my opinion. Okay, so there's a little bit of dismembering.
What about the end? Well, the end's not creepy, but I mean, like the end. You remember the end?
Oh yeah,
where he's an old guy, and he's like surrounded by the other Pokemon, and he's forced to face Ghost, who just kills him.
Yeah, it's a stupid story. Again, nothing really happened. Number 3, voices. This is
I haven't heard this one.
This is one of the worst creepypastas, and it probably should be higher, but there's others that take higher precedence. Voices is about a guy. He's in this ghost town, literally in the middle of nowhere. It's the middle of winter. It's snowing, and he, I think he said it was in Wisconsin, if I remember right. But he starts hearing his name in the wind, so he starts chasing the wind, trying to find where the hell the voice is coming from. And this goes on for about 20 minutes.
Just him chasing voices.
Literally, and there's nothing there. We don't see any kind of ghost, we don't see a monster, no psycho killer, nothing. It's just voices. Boring. Number 2, Bubby the Clown. I have no issues with scary clowns. I like scary clowns. I loved the movie It. I loved Funhouse and numerous other scary clown movies.
My favorite character of all time is the Joker. He's obviously an evil clown.
He is.
So, hey.
Bubby the Clown is a demonic, cannibalistic clown.
Woo.
He can't speak, but he's gnarly, and we're led towards the end of the story to wonder if it's actually the guy writing it, if Bubby's watching him, or maybe it's Bubby himself. The description of Bubby is fucking stupid, with black gums and pointy teeth, and his fingers look broken, but they're more like claws. It's just bad. It's so bad. And at number 1, I know this is on your list because we talked extensively about this one, Sonic.exe. Kid finds a random copy of the old Sonic the Hedgehog game, and once he puts it in, he starts playing, and weird things start happening, one of which is where Sonic actually looks at the screen and says, you can run, but you can't hide.
And it's like an evil Sonic, like he has no eyes and just little red dots.
He's got fangs instead, and he actually comes up
the
at
background's
one, and at the very end he actually looks again at the screen after killing the main character and says, I am God. And it's so bad. It's so bad. If you haven't read this and you like it, I know a lot of people do like it for whatever reason, it's just bad. Alright, Jay, you're up, dude.
Woo. Okay, number 5. The face upstairs. Now, okay, I gotta talk about this because we argued about this.
We did.
But you know what? I stand my ground, and my ground is, alright, the face upstairs, if you listen to the version done by Mr. Creepypasta, I don't know if it's done in any other way, but Mr. Creepypasta, it gets really creepy, and you actually get scared. Because it's about this kid who keeps on hearing, or no, he walks in,
nobody's home.
Nobody's home, and he yells, "Mommy!" And someone's upstairs, and says, "Yes." And so he goes upstairs, and he says it again. He's like, "Mommy!" And
he hears it again.
And so and it's coming from like a back room. Well, he goes to the back room, And just as he's about to open the door, his mom comes through the door with a bunch of bags and stuff.
From grocery shopping.
And it's like, Jimmy, I'm back. Oh. And
so he's a little
he's like,
confused, and he's about to go ahead and help his mom.
Right, but then he gets a, like, who is in the room? And
he opens the door.
He opens the door, and
everybody walks the dinosaur.
Right, and everybody walks the dinosaur, which is a 70s song, I guess in a 70s-esque song. It's basically like getting rickrolled.
It pretty much was.
It's a rickroll.
Had I seen this before I wrote up my list, that probably would have been at number 1. Because it's...
I think it's so hilarious.
Now see, I was really getting into the story, and I was actually getting
when I was in the same way that you were when I first started.
And then that happened, and I was like, fuck this.
When that happened, I started laughing.
Oh,
I was like, I haven't been rickrolled like that in a long time. Even though it's not Rick, it is the same basis of music, and then just it's hilarious.
I don't know how you could love it. I was pissed. All right, okay. Number 4.
Why did I put that there? Barbie AVI.
Now see, I've never seen this one or read it or anything of that nature. So fill us in.
I can't remember.
Okay, obviously it sucks that much. I don't even remember.
I can't remember.
Okay.
I can't remember.
Number 3.
Pokemon Creepy Black, which
I talked about.
Okay, number 2, God's Mouth.
Oh god, this one sucks.
Which we just talked. Which we actually just watched. All right, God's Mouth is about these two
God's
people.
Mouth I had actually seen before, and I asked you if you had seen it.
And I said no, and we watched it again. Okay,
Man and his wife.
Man and his wife are explorers. They're like Indiana Jones
and shit like that.
And Lara Croft.
Yeah.
Anyway,
whatever.
And they reach this cave that says God's Mouth, and it says, "Please do not enter."
Do not enter. Turn back. All kinds of.
And so they're like, "Oh fuck it, let's go in." Well, they go in, and he eventually loses the hand of his wife in the pitch dark.
Yep.
And so he gets somehow stuck in a 4-walled cave. There's no exit, no entrance, whatever. And his camera cuts off, and when it comes back on, all the cave walls turn to red, veiny, like creatures, and the guy ultimately gets swallowed. So it is literally God's mouth.
I think
which I think is just a dumb idea.
I think that they need to do a sequel to this called Satan's Ass.
The guy returns 75 years later out Satan's ass.
Covered in excrement and everything. Because this is just, that's exactly what it is. It's
He's
a
an old
giant,
guy.
steaming pile of excrement. Number 1.
Let's work on that. Anyway, Sonic EXE.
Which we talked about.
Which is
just a giant hunk of shit.
Derp.
Alright, so now we get to go to the fun hole.
I like this part.
Okay, this is the all-time number 10 best.
Don't die.
Oh, you killed it.
It said it had like 20 minutes left.
You killed it.
Don't give me that. You're a whore.
What the hell did you do?
A French whore. I got the charger.
I was gonna say, there's an outlet right over there. Go plug it in. I'll do my list while you plug it in.
Okay.
Alright, at number 10 is Doors. Doors was a really neat one for me. It's about a boy who is adopted into a new family, and the family's pretty loving.
Oh, you're kidding.
What?
It's not a 3-prong.
No, it's not. Sorry.
I fucking hate you.
Can't help you there.
We gotta have a 3-prong running somewhere. You had your computer plugged in over here, didn't you?
Yeah, behind the...
nothing.
You might be able to slip in there, though.
Yeah, maybe.
I was gonna say, the book...
Keep on talking.
Well, he starts getting this weird feeling like somebody's watching him from outside, and you find out that there's a killer that comes in, and he's murdered the adoptive father. Well, the boy comes running, and the killer sees him, but the killer completely ignores him and ends up busting through the bathroom door and killing the adoptive mother. Well, the adoptive sister shows up, and she screams. Once again, the killer completely bypasses him and gets the girl, but rather than killing her, he drags her outside. The brother is left there whimpering and crying and is,
oh, you're fucking kidding me.
Is saying, why are you doing this? And the killer just pats him on the head and says, good boy. And he slams the door behind him, and the boy's left there crying and whimpering, and he can't do anything. He can't chase after them or anything like he wants to. Well, as he's sitting there, he looks down at his paws, and says, "If only I could open doors." So you actually find out that the boy, or what we believe to be a boy, is actually nothing more than the family dog.
Poor dog.
So you feel horrible for this poor dog.
2-prong.
2-prong? Give me a minute. I think I got one.
Anyway, in the meantime, I'll take your seat because it's much more comfortable than that fucking thing. What we got on this list here? Number 10. Oh, I love that one. All right, I'll fill in. Number 9 is username 666, which is a YouTube account, huh?
You're reading my list?
Yes, I am.
Here.
Oh, sweet. You can continue.
Alright, where'd you leave off?
Username 666. I haven't even started yet.
Oh, okay.
I just said it's basically a YouTube account.
Well, supposedly it's a YouTube account.
Well,
If you go into YouTube and you look up the username 666, nothing comes up. But if you go in and you refresh the page over and over again, you start getting hellish images, and finally you find out that it's supposedly a creepy virus that creates
eventually you'll get a video that has
one
the virus
video,
on it.
and you watch it and it won't let you shut down your computer or exit out or nothing.
Now see, the only thing that bothered me about that video is it never showed the person actually trying to hit the power button.
No, they tried shutting it down normally and everything.
Right, but in cases like that, you just hit the power button.
One would think.
Anyway.
But yeah, it's a really interesting video. Number 8, I know you love this video.
I
Or the
love
story.
this story.
Jeff the Killer.
Jeff the Killer.
Jeff is I would say what? Teenage boy?
Teenage boy who
Moves into a new home.
Yep, with his family and his brother Lou.
Yep.
Lou. And they deal with the neighborhood bullies.
Yes.
And they are actually these bullies are not just average bullies. They don't like
They've
push
got
around. They're actually
guns.
guns and knives and
Jackasses.
assholes. Well, they attack Lou and Jeff. And Jeff just goes berserk. And doesn't he actually kill one of them?
Later, after Lou is sent to juvie.
Okay. Well, he definitely hurts them. Stabs
he
a couple
breaks
of them.
one of their wrists and everything. Well, the kids end up finding him later and get into a fight with him yet again. This time, however, the leader of the bullies say to him, "It was me that got your brother sent." By doing this, Jeff's mind snaps.
Oh yeah, he just goes
And
nuts.
he ends up tackling the main bully, and he punches him straight in the heart, which causes it to stop, and it kills the kid. Well, the next kid comes at him, and Jeff has run upstairs into the bathroom, and he's ripped the towel rack off of the wall, and he cracks the kid in the head, and the kid just bleeds to death.
Which, if you've ever tried to rip a towel rack off of,
It's
they're
difficult.
like,
It's difficult.
especially for a kid.
Yeah.
He's
12, 13,
gone like
14.
berserk at this point because it takes like
Well,
superhuman strength.
The
to do
third kid shows up, and he's a lot faster than the other two, so he manages to dodge him a couple of times. Finally, they smash into this cupboard, and a bucket of bleach pours over the two of them.
Yeah.
Well, the first kid, when he attacked Jeff, smashed a bottle of vodka over him. So now he's got bleach and alcohol on him. Jeff manages to smash this kid in the head, and the kid looks up at him and he smiles. Jeff looks at him and says, "What's so funny?" The kid flicks on a lighter and says, "You're covered in bleach and alcohol."
And throws the lighter
Throws
on
the
and
lighter
sets
on.
him on fire.
Well, after this, they heard the kids admit to it, so Lou's let out, but Jeff's in the hospital all bandaged up. Well, when they remove his wrappings, the family is just horrified.
Pale white face,
Due to the bleach,
bright red lips.
because of being burned, and his hair is singed from brown to black.
Right.
He's
And
looking at himself in the mirror, and Lou says to him, now this I think is one of the creepiest lines.
This is the cool
Because Lou says, "Jeff, it's not that bad." And Jeff starts to laugh, and he says, "Not that bad. It's perfect."
one. Now
And
I think
it's
after the
just
fire,
like that.
his brain has been like damaged
Well, it was
beyond
before that.
his insanity. It's now just
But he starts laughing uncontrollably, and everybody thinks that he's
lost it.
lost it, which we know is true. But so they get home, and the parents are trying to sleep, and the mother awakens to hear a strange sound.
Him screaming, wasn't it?
Yes, crying, close to crying is what they said that it sounded like. But with that being done, he actually is in the bathroom with a knife, and he has cut a permanent smile into his face.
Because it hurt to smile.
He couldn't smile anymore because it started to hurt. Well, the mother notices that his eyes are circled with black, and she notices that they're not closing at all. So she asks him about his eyes, and he said that he was getting tired, and his eyes started to close, so he wasn't able to look at his face anymore. He actually burns out his eyelids, which is a sickening thought.
This is like the ultimate.
And comes to the creepiest line, I think, in the whole thing. You disagree with me on this, but I think this is the
No, I agree.
You think this is the creepiest, where he looks at his
Yeah.
mother and says, "Mommy, am I beautiful?"
Yeah.
I thought you thought that his primary line.
No, his primary line is like the center of him. But it's even with the fact that I do think the mirror was the creepiest part of the whole ordeal.
Yeah. So Jeff the Killer, really interesting story. Number 7, I know this is also on your list. Oh, I guess a lot of them really are on the same list. Number 7 for me is The Girl in the Photograph, which this boy finds a photo of what he says is the most beautiful girl that he's ever seen, holding up a peace sign. So he starts asking classmates and teachers, but nobody knows who she is. Asks the older sister, even his mom. Nobody knows who the hell she is. And so he keeps this photo, and he's looking at her, and he starts hearing these weird noises. Well, as he's walking to school one day, he gets hit by a car and dies instantly.
No.
Yeah, he died instantly.
No, not the version I heard.
The one that we just watched earlier?
No. He doesn't. Alright, what? He goes to bed, the picture by his side. Well, he gets woken up to hear strange noises, and then he hears a giggle.
Mm-hmm.
So he's thinking, when I heard this, I was thinking he was thinking, the girl. And so he picks up the picture and he walks up. Well, he walks into the road in front of a bus and gets hit by the bus.
Oh, it was a bus, not a car?
It was a bus. And so the detectives, when they go, or the bus driver, when they pick him up, he picks up the picture, and it's a very beautiful girl holding three fingers
instead of 2.
And so it's kind of like,
it's a really, really interesting story.
That kind of is a really dark take on that joke about the I don't know, it's a word repeating thing, and then like the person does something stupid. Oh no, the eye hole. And like it sounds like people are having a bunch of fun on the other side, so they peek through and get poked in the eye.
Oh yes.
And they're saying 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4. Yeah, it's kind of like a darker version of that.
Number 6, Zolgo. Zolgo is very similar to the H.P. Lovecraft creature Cthulhu, as he causes insanity.
We've
talked about Cthulhu extensively.
We love.
However, he shows up in like cartoons and comic strip pictures online, but he mutates the characters so that they're blackened and hellish creatures with these horrid mouths and black eyes.
Nice.
You don't even need to really read the story. Just look up Zolgo sometime. He's really, really creepy. Number 5, probably the most famous of all the creepypastas.
And this actually was created on a forum, if I remember right.
It was.
And we were talking about Slenderman.
The Slenderman.
Who is awesome.
Slenderman is really awesome. Really tall, probably 7 feet, I think is what they describe.
I think 9.
Feet. Really?
It was closer to 9 feet.
Really? Was it that tall?
Because, 9 feet tall, arms that could, or limbs that could extend or
shrink.
And his head.
The tendrils.
The tentacles.
No face.
No face, just a white... A form of a face, I guess you could say, because he does have it's not a nose, but it's like a figure of a nose.
Yeah,
it's kind of there. It's not really there.
There's a figure there, but there's no actual stuff.
But you can see like where his eyelids would be, where.
Really, really creepy story. The original Slenderman story.
Original Slenderman.
Really, really creepy. And there's been numerous Slenderman stories. Obviously, you have the videos from Marble Hornet.
And you got the sightings, the pictures.
And there's a lot of...
He's become a creepy... He's like the creepypasta mascot.
Yeah, he's like the king of creepypastas.
You think creepypasta, you think Slenderman.
Typically.
But he's not on the top of the list because...
He's in my top 5, so that's pretty good.
Top 5's good, but the rest of these we think are more creepier.
Scarier, yeah. Number 4, Gateway to the Mind.
And you said you were surprised. I've never heard of this one.
I was really surprised.
I'll have to look it up later.
A psychological study goes on where the scientists believe that if you cut off all senses, you will be able to contact God. Well, there's only one volunteer, and he says
He's an old guy that's got
left to
nothing
live for. He has the surgery, and all of his senses are severed. After a couple of days, he starts saying that he can actually hear his dead wife, and he can communicate with her. After a while, he starts hearing other people.
And the relatives of the
he starts going insane,
scientists.
and he starts trying to kill himself. Well, for 2 weeks, they've got him tied down, and he's just crying. Finally, he looks over, and even though he's supposedly blind, he focuses on one of the scientists, and he says, "I have spoken to God, and he has abandoned us." This story, the reason it unnerves me, even talk about, look, my hair is...
Yeah, I'm getting the heebie-jeebies here.
Hearing this story, it's not so much a scare factor as it's just unsettling, and I actually started crying hearing this story.
Really?
Like, even right now, I'm tearing up because it's such a horrifying idea that you can hear the voices of hell, and the fact that God just doesn't care. Now, obviously, I'm not a Catholic, which we've talked about.
But I'm a Christian. That should unnerve me more than anybody else.
Yeah, you should have definitely unnerved.
I don't believe it. I think God is still good.
Number 3, you wanted me to talk about it, so I'm going to talk about it. Cupcakes. My Little Pony cupcakes. This is the one that started it for me and shows my love for creepypasta. Definitely not the scariest, but among them, since it made number 3. And it took such a cute, cuddly kid show,
Which I've only seen a couple of times.
And completely twists it.
Oh, yeah.
Now, for me, when I think of the character, especially Pinkie Pie, she's probably the most childish of the characters. She's jumping around all the time, very hyperactive, wants to throw parties. The fact that she is put up as the serial killer, the sadistic things that she does to Rainbow Dash, like...
she cuts her Rainbow Dash.
The cutie mark off. Yeah. She removes her wings.
Just rips her apart, really.
Yeah, I mean, she does so
takes out organs.
It's so frightening. Again, this is probably one of the most infamous, and even if you're not familiar with creepypasta, most people that I talk about when I say cupcakes with My Little Pony, they know what I'm talking about. It's one of those ones where it's become so synonymous on the internet.
The other bronies, you say cupcakes and like,
they freak out and they don't want to talk about it. It's kind of...
What's so bad about it? It's just a creepypasta.
It's literally kind of swept under the rug by other bronies. Very few are willing to talk about it.
Scaredy cats.
I like talking about it, so fuck all of them. And like I said earlier, it's what actually turned me into a brony, because I can throw the most deranged ideas behind things. Number 2. I know you love this story.
Smile.jpg.
Smile.dog.jpg.
Which is like a grandfather creepypasta, because I know it's been around for a long
It has been around for a long time. I think it's one of the originals. And Smile Dog is a photo that people send called Smile.jpg, and it's a creature that looks
like a husky.
Very much like a husky. Which
it's like your dog.
Yeah, which creeps me out because I've got one.
And
it's got this humanoid smile.
But it's not so human in the fact that it stretches where the usual dog mouth would.
Yeah.
So instead of the canine teeth, you got human teeth.
And
very square human teeth.
You're supposed to send this off to other people and quote unquote spread the word.
And if you don't, though, you'll start having nightmares, and eventually after, what did it say?
3 days?
3 days, the picture will deform into a much more demonic-looking dog. Yep. And what it is, it's the ears are down, actually.
Yeah, it looks almost pig-like.
And the smile is wider.
Much wider.
So
it almost actually looks like another version of Jeff, in a way. Like
Dog Jeff.
Yeah, it does.
It's Dog Jeff the Killer.
It does.
There's actually a different story to this.
Really?
Really. And it's a story that I came upon originally, and it's been a while since I've read it, but I would like to tell it when it comes my turn around.
Okay. And my number 1, and you hadn't heard about this.
I had never heard of the show ever in my whole life.
And this would be Candle Cove. It's about a kids' puppet show, marionette kind of show, about pirates and a little girl who befriends them. Everything seems kind of normal. The creepypasta is about some people talking about the show on a forum, and they're going back and forth, and somehow they come to the episode of Tossle, which is supposedly like a lost episode where it's just 30 minutes of the characters screaming and crying and flailing about. Well, one of the guys talking about it visits his mother in a nursing home and asks her if she remembers the show. He comes back telling them what the mother said, and she thought that it was odd that when he was younger he'd say, "Okay, Mom, I'm going to go watch Candle Cove," and he would turn the TV to complete static and just watch dead air for 30 minutes.
Ah, I get it. That's
only
kind of
certain
cool.
people could see it. The reason that this one made it at my number one is when I lived in Georgia, there was a show called Candle Cove, and it was about pirates, and it's very.
But you said it was a cartoon.
It was a cartoon. That's
And
the only different thing.
the creepypasta as puppets.
A puppet show.
A puppet show. Like
The weird thing is, I've talked to a couple of people on YouTube and Facebook about Candle Cove, and a lot of people do remember the show and remember it being a cartoon. So I know now that I'm not crazy when I say, "Hey, I remember this show," because at first I was like,
it's already starting.
Well, the thing is, I actually asked a couple of people, and there was one girl in particular who said that she remembered the show. And she and I started talking about it, and she specifically remembered one of the villainary characters, which was Horace Horrible, which was the sidekick of the primary villain, the Skin Taker.
Which just sounds like a creepy...
Well, the Skin Taker in the creepypasta is a skeleton with a top hat and a cape that was sewn together with supposedly children's skin.
Oh.
Where in the cartoon, I remember him being more almost spider-like. His appendages were really long. He only had 3 fingers and 2 toes. He was almost more alien-esque looking.
Okay.
And I loved the Skin Taker. I always thought that he was a really scary character, but he was a really cool character at the same time. But I remember this show, and I think that's what made it so scary for me. So, That's my list. You're up, dude. You broke it.
Shut up. It's not broken. Just need to be charged.
You broke it.
I've been playing on it all day.
Okay. So, your top 10.
Top 10.
Number 10.
Number 10 is Creepybot,
Which we mentioned.
which we've slightly mentioned, but I actually have it on my list because I think it is creepy as fuck. And
Creepybot, based off of
is
the Cleverbot.
Cleverbot, which is a site you can go on to and talk to a robot, essentially. Well, apparently, if you try to talk about Ben,
Which we spoke about with
they're like,
the Majora's Mask.
the Cleverbot's like, we don't talk about Ben. And so if you go more about it, it
It's
says,
creepy because it starts talking to you about things like, I watch you, I know
know
where
where you live, and I will murder you sometimes, apparently.
which is really scary.
Especially being a robot.
A robot, yeah. Alright, so
that's
number 9.
number 9. The Rugrats theory. Have you heard about the Rugrats theory?
I've heard about it, I have not.
Because I've talked to you slightly about it.
Yes.
And Rugrats theory is more of a theory creepypasta than it is just a regular story creepypasta.
Now, see, I don't know too many of the theory ones. I've seen them, but I've never read them or watched them or anything like that. Cause
I got a couple in here. A couple of my favorites.
I saw that. So,
Rugrats theory. Well, okay. All the Rugrats, the actual babies, are non-existent.
Yes.
Except for Dill,
Dill.
who was introduced later into the series. Well, I'll explain. What the babies are is that they were supposed to be born, but
Each
through
one
some
has
form
died
didn't.
Some way
Right.
or another.
Chucky, you know how he looks a lot like his dad?
Yep.
That is all part of Angelica's mind. See, Angelica is the child of a crack whore who is her mom, but she sees him so highly like a businesswoman because that's kind of what it's a business. It's just not the business.
Of what you would think.
Right, but you can't think as a little girl, she wouldn't understand. Well, it's starting to take to effect to her mind. We'll start with Tommy. Tommy was a miscarriage, and so his.
Now, I want to know about the other ones because you talked about Tommy.
Right. Well, they haven't heard about Tommy.
Yeah.
Unless they've read the thing. But either way.
Well, we know how that he was a miscarriage. What about
Miscarriage.
Phil, Lil?
Phil Lil was actually a baby that was not born. So also like a miscarriage.
Okay.
And
Now, what about
so that's why there's 2 of them. Phil and Lil is the same baby, but since there was never a gender produced, you got one of each.
Okay. Now, what about Chucky?
Chucky died with his mom.
Oh, okay.
So that's because, as you know, Chucky's mom, well, he doesn't have a
Passed
mom.
away.
So that's what happened is that Chucky's mom died in the the row.
Huh.
And the only real character, the only real person is Susie, who's Angelica's only friend, and is there through the whole thing. Now, Dill, here's the interesting thing with Dill. Dill's actually born, but he's mentally retarded.
Really?
Really. And so Angelica perceives him as more as a totally different of what he probably would be if he wasn't the way he was.
Huh.
So he's fun. He's like always like the comedy one, funny, gross. And Angelica eventually dies in teenage years, thus ending the whole Rugrats all grown up thing.
Wow.
So it's actually really it's very kind of it definitely gives you a different point of view on the whole show.
Yeah, it's kind of a darker view.
So
All right.
that's
Number 8.
9. Number 8 is another theory. Ed and Eddie theory.
Oh boy.
Have you heard of this one?
No.
You haven't heard of this one?
Nope.
I am completely shocked.
Like I said, I don't do too many of the theory
I
ones.
love
but
theories.
Shoot.
I'm a conspiracist, I guess you could say. Okay. Supposedly, all the cul-de-sac and everybody that lives in it are dead. All of them. That's why none of them have parents.
That makes sense.
And Ed's always talking about his brother, even though he never shows up.
Yeah, Eddie always talks about his brother.
Yeah, Eddie. Well,
no, because we do see one episode where we see Ed's mom
I remember that.
from the waist down, kind of like in Cow and Chicken.
Well, anyway, they all died in the cul-de-sac, but at different times.
Yeah.
Rolf was there before the cul-de-sac was even there. It was
Okay.
his farmland. That's why he's the farmer boy.
Yeah.
You know, and he is the way he is. So he died first, and I'm kind of mixed on who died when. Kevin died in the 50s. That's why he's all like well, the way he is.
Yeah.
He's all about the hot rod bike and kind of like the trademark bully. Let's see.
Naz must have been like the 80s.
Naz died in the 80s. Her parents died from like juicing and like drugs and stuff like that. And she kind of died with them because, well, they had her doing it too. So that's why she's there. Each of the Eds have their own demise. Ed was a very lonely. Ed, single D, was a very lonely child. That's why he resorts to comics so much in movies
and things of that nature.
Right. He was just secluded from everybody, and he just died from alone.
Being alone.
And his sister Sarah. I don't remember what happened to Sarah.
Huh.
Eddie died in the Great Depression. That's why he's always trying to get money.
That makes sense.
He died poor and hungry, so he died of starvation.
Okay. Now what about Double D?
Double D. I'm trying to think. Oh, Double D died ultimately from I think he was killed from bullies.
I was gonna say it was.
He's a nerdy, kind of a nerdy character.
For sure, it was gonna be like some kind of science experiment or something.
Well, I think he just got the crap beaten out of him by bullies and then just got terrorized to death.
Now what about Jimmy and Johnny?
Don't remember what happened to Jimmy. Johnny was kind of like Ed. That's why he had his friend Plank. He just lonely kid, and
the depression set in and kill himself.
I think it was a suicide, something like that. But here's a cool thing. The cul-de-sac is a kind of a rendition of hell. The Kanker sisters are demons.
Really?
That's why they're just terrorize everybody.
I kind of like this one. I should check this out. I've never read it or anything like that, but I'm liking how this is going.
So, at the school, I'm not sure because that was later in the series, when the whole school showed up.
Yeah.
Not sure what's going on there.
Yeah.
All right. 7, Zalgo.
Which we talked about.
6, Russian sleep experiment.
Russian sleep experiment I didn't have.
You didn't have? Okay.
No, I didn't.
Yay! I get to talk about it, and it's so awesome. Okay. So these 5 guys stay awake, are experimented to stay awake.
Yep.
During the what was it? The Holocaust?
No.
Wasn't
the Cold War.
The Cold War. They were POWs, I guess.
Pretty much. Political.
Hostages. Yeah. And 5 of them were forced to stay awake with a
gas.
Yes.
Gas.
Yes. And eventually they just started going
Mad.
crazy because what was it, like
15 days.
15
just over
days.
2 weeks.
Right, and one died. I know that.
Yeah, one died.
One died.
The rest went insane.
The rest went insane and started killing each other, I would say.
No, there were like.
Because I was.
I don't know if they started killing each other. It's been a while since I've listened to this particular.
But anyway,
it was a.
there
really,
was like one left, and he just was.
I like this.
out of his mind.
I particularly like this story because it's very realistic, and it was going on at a time where shit like this was actually going on.
Yeah, like come on, the twins experiment during World War II.
Yes.
That was fucked up. Okay, number 5, girl in the picture,
Which
we talked about.
The girl in the photograph.
Right. 4, Slender Man.
Spoke of.
Who was awesome. 3, Just the Killer.
Spoke of.
Spoke of. 2, the strangest security video I've ever
This
seen.
one we didn't speak of because I don't have this one.
And you've never heard of it.
No, I have not.
And you should seriously consider thinking about listening to it. It is
I'll take a
a
look.
little bit of awesome. What it is this spoiler alert.
They're all spoke
Because you haven't
That's
you
fine.
haven't seen it, so
That's
spoiler alert. Anyway, okay. This guy who works as a cashier and is just in this little town, he's the cashier at a store. Well, what happens is that there's been stuff going missing, like gas and gasoline out of the back room.
Okay.
And so they put security cameras out.
Yep.
Well, the guy was saying, "Oh, I gotta watch this video today, and I kind of don't want to, but I gotta." And so he watched it. He comes to find out that the other worker there, mysterious guy, doesn't really talk. But is polite to customers, and just a good worker. Well,
He's been the one taking the stuff?
not exactly.
Okay.
Well, he closes up at night.
Yeah.
And so upon watching the video, when he's done closing up and he's walked out, he just keeps on watching because his boss is like, "You gotta watch this. It's your
duty.
right." So he's like, okay, and he's watching it. Well, he's sitting there. All of a sudden, the other worker's face pops up in the camera and stays there for like 4 straight hours, and then disappears.
That's weird.
And just no blinking, nothing, just staring into the camera. And he disappears. And there's nothing further until he walks in and opens up. Well, it's kind of a backstory. He talked to his boss about it, and his boss can't understand why. Well, this is where I get kind of foggy, because this is the second creepypasta I've ever known.
Yeah.
And upon watching it, I'm surprised I got this much detail, because it freaked me out. And my buddy Luke was like, "Dude, we should quit our jobs," because where I worked, we had security cameras.
Okay. Well
Anyway,
what ended up being
the story is that there's this kid who lived down the street with his family, and what happened is that the kid set his house on fire with everybody in it. Everybody died, and he disappeared.
Okay.
But this was like a bunch of years ago, like 20 years ago. And so supposedly, somehow, he went forward in time to get the gas and stole the gasoline. And the kid that was closing at night was the kid that burnt down the house.
Oh wow.
But here's the cool thing. At the end, spoiler. At the end, the guy says, "Oh, well, anyway, he rambles on a bit about just day-to-day stuff, and he's like, "Oh, and anyway, I got this video I gotta watch." Constant circle.
Oh wow, it's just a continuous.
He's stuck in a loop, and I'm like,
Wow.
I've never known a story ever to do that,
Wow.
to make a constant loop like that.
That does sound really cool.
So it brings it full circle.
I'll definitely have to check that out.
So that's number 2. And number 1, smalldog.jpg.
Which we spoke of.
And I've heard a different version of this story than just the regular, "Oh, there's this thing going around."
So
It was actually a woman who contracted it.
yes,
Yes.
that's the version that I've heard.
And the reporter that goes to research it.
Yep.
And she locks herself in the room,
going
screaming.
nuts.
Right. And then eventually opens the door, and isn't she calmed down enough to talk to him?
Nope.
No?
It ends up being almost a year, and she emails him.
Okay.
And the husband finds the disc, and when he burns the disc that's got the image on it, it starts hissing like an animal, and that really freaks the guy out. But then the reporter actually gets an email from somebody else who sent the image of Smile.
JPEG. So I'm glad we're on the same page with that.
Yep. I knew the one you were talking about.
So that's number one, and
that's.
I'm actually really proud of this list.
I'm proud of all the lists that both of us made. I agree with most of them.
So
I obviously don't agree with your spot for fucking the face upstairs, but
come on! Oh, that was supposed to be funny. It was supposed to be.
Dude, it started off.
It's like scary movie.
It started off so good because it was really, really scary at first, and then it went completely downhill.
It's like a scary movie. It makes fun of itself.
Dude, it was like so up here for me, and I almost contemplated putting it on my top list, and then once it did that, right down the crapper.
I knew it was gonna happen.
How did you know it was gonna happen?
No, because halfway through it, I'm like, okay. I'm like, oh, and then it happened. I'm like, this got me again, you assholes.
Alright, so
that's our list.
We thank you for coming in and checking out episode 0.
And we hope you guys got scared at the beginning, because we really tried.
We did try, and
our acting skills are probably up par, but that's okay.
No, I did take drama for a while, and I did a little bit of acting, but it's been years.
I haven't been able to get into drama.
It's been years since I've done it.
Like, they won't let me in.
But again, we
failed acting career.
We hope that you enjoyed the video, and hopefully we scared you a little bit, or even made you worried about us, which shows how much you love us.
I think we're gonna do something like this again eventually.
I think there will be another creepypasta episode, but it's probably
not exactly creepypasta, but just us rambling about a subject of our liking.
I think that might come around.
Because we tend to do that a lot.
We do. And I have fun doing this. I actually had a lot of fun doing this.
It was a lot of fun, and you know what's... Okay, this is the weird thing that actually made it our own little
creepypasta.
Creepy ordeal, is that when, yesterday, I was still stuck on this night shift. I've been out of a job for about a week. But I just got out of this night shift because my mom woke me up at noontime saying, hey, you need to go with your Nana because you need to get your last check. And I'm like, all right, I'll do it. And so I went, and I ended up running into you and your mom. And we're talking, and you're like, oh, I gotta tell you about something. I got this great idea about creepypasta episode. And I'm like, no way, because I actually was going to bring it up to you when we were going to do the next episode. Yeah. I was going to bring it up and talk to you about it, and the fact that you brought is like minds just
melding.
And so that was our little creepy experience with this also. So go us. After an hour and 17 minutes, I think this is the end.
Hopefully we've given you guys something worth reading and or watching, depending on if you check it out on YouTube or Mr. Creepypasta, who we've mentioned numerous times.
He does a lot of them. So
he does do a lot of them. He's got a podcast. He's got an iPod.
Mr. Creepypasta, if you're listening to this, much respect.
We might even tag you in this video, so do check it out.
Be sweet.
That would be sweet. Also, check out the Creepypasta page on Facebook.
There's a bunch of freaking creepypastas pages. We could go on and on and on.
There is. Again, hopefully we've given you something to check out, and hopefully things to stay away from as well. So I guess that's everything. Did we talk about Creepy Time at all?
Who?
Creepy Time?
Creepy Time?
Yeah, Creepy Time.
What about Creepy Time?
Oh, come on, you know all about Creepy Time.
Creepy Time? What are you talking about? Oh, God!
On my Facebook page.
Oh!
It took you that long. Oh my God. Creepy Time was awesome.
Creepy Time is basically creepypasta rendition of Adventure Time.
With Smile Dog and Jeff the Killer.
Jeff the Killer.
And somebody actually altered the theme song, which was awesome.
They gave it a really good twist.
It comes up and it goes, it's creepy time, come on, grab your friends, we go to very creepy lands. With Smile Dog and Jeff the Killer, the killing will never end, it's creepy time. And when I saw that, I loved it. I had to post it.
Now, see, you're a Adventure Time fan.
I am. I love Adventure
I'm
Time.
not, and I enjoyed this.
It was.
So it's really for everybody.
It was. So, again, that's our lists. This is episode 0, ending with a total of 1 hour and 20 minutes. So we bid thee adieu.
Yay!